Hi, and welcome to another episode of Consultants Corner. In this new era, collaboration and partnership is becoming ever more prevalent and important. And it's really important to make sure that we've got an open narrative of sharing of ideas. The industry possesses some really exceptional operators, consultants, and contractors. And our aim is to bring greater insights into the thinking, which can often lie hidden away. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and I'm really delighted to be joined by Chris Chidley from Compass Group today. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Very good. Are you well?
Yes, I'm very, very well. So, Chris, just for the audience, I know we've been talking about travel and backgrounds and things, and oh, sorry, this is just having trouble streaming to LinkedIn. Just bear with me a moment.
Okay.
Oh, I'll have to do it on my phone. Sorry, just bear with me.
It's all right.
We'll edit this. It should start to stream. If not, don't worry, everyone. If you're on YouTube, just follow the link that's in the chat. If you're on LinkedIn, to the YouTube channel where you can watch this live. There will be a recording afterwards as well, so that you can catch up with our discussion today with Chris. Apologies for that.
All right, no worries.
Pardon?
I said no worries. Absolutely fine.
Okay, so Chris, we're gonna see. This is what happens when you're live. You're live. We just have to go with it. Okay, so just in terms of your background, Chris, just share a bit about yourself and your journey with the audience.
It's not overly exciting. I've been with the industry just over 2 decades, 25 years, scarily. I've worked for Compass Group for 16 of those years. Before that, I was with McDonald's for 9 years, where I left A-levels and was offered a fast-track management programme by McDonald's. So I chose not to go to university and take up the Golden Arches. So I was there till I was 25. I stupidly applied for The Apprentice, believe it or not, if you can remember the programme. That is a very long story, which I won't bore you with, but the long and short of it was I was fired pretty quickly through the process.
You were actually on The Apprentice?
I was not on The Apprentice, but I went through to close to the final stages where they said, if you're through, we will drop you an email. If you don't hear from us, you're fired, you're not through. And so I'm here sitting with Compass Group. So I wasn't successful in getting through. So, but that brought on a pretty fresh challenge for me, which was after 9 years with McDonald's, was I just very good working in a fast food restaurant, or actually did I have more to me than maybe I didn't realize? So I left McDonald's to take on a challenge with Compass, and 16 years later, I'm here. I've operated in a series of roles across operations, supply chain, mobilization, sales, and now I'm the Chief Growth and Innovation Officer for the UK and I Compass business.
That's really great. I remember actually many years ago, my uni days, and one of my part-time jobs in the summer was at McDonald's. So we might have crossed paths in our past
may well be true. May well be true. So that's what brought me into the industry. What's kept me in the industry is just every day is just a different day. Whatever role you're in, you're just surrounded with people, and I'm a bit of a people person. I love problem solving, and in our industry, particularly in the last few years, there's been a lot of problems to solve. So surrounded with great people, and that's what keeps me here. Not going to change either anytime soon, anyway.
This is really, really great actually having you on, because so far on Consultants Corner, we've actually had very different types of consultancies, and I think being Compass, this is the first time we've actually had a consultant in from a large corporation. So it's actually nice to hear. Yeah. It's going to be nice to hear your perspectives and how they compare as well. So let's go on to some information around, sharing your opinions around transparency. In your opinion, Is it crucial in today's industry?
Short answer is, of course, yes. I don't think it's ever been not important, but certainly in the last few years, particularly in my world, there's so much uncertainty and there's so much need to be agile, where the only way that really works with clients is to offer transparency. And I'd say we're always transparent. I don't think anyone would have it in their values not to be. But actually, I think there's ways to over exaggerate the topic to give more comfort and build more trust with clients. So what do I mean by that? Well, in our world where costs have been uncertain, particularly around inflation, actually just being completely open book is the way forward. And that's a transparent view that perhaps many of us take, particularly Compass Group we do. But in today's world, it's absolutely critical. I'm hearing more and more of it being discussed now. I don't think there's a challenge that people aren't or companies aren't transparent. I just think I think clients are just absolutely obsessed by it at the moment, which is no bad thing. I think that's what fosters great relationships. So all the better for it.
I think as well with clients, they're a lot. When you talk about an intelligent client, they've been experienced. They're now they've outsourced multiple times in the cycle of the catering and the hospitality services. So I think they're very much more attuned to what they're looking for. Would you agree?
Yeah, but if you think about it, pre-COVID, it was a deflationary market. Cost certainty was there. There wasn't much fluctuation with having to go back to have conversations around budgets not being achieved, or there's some volatility in the market around particular food categories. And so, whilst transparency was there, I genuinely think it was. There was never really a precise need on a regular basis to keep covering off old ground, because the cost was the cost, the food offer was the food offer. I mean, you fast forward to this point on, there is so much volatility in the market around food inflation, food categories, that you have to be over communicative with your clients. You have to show a transparent view of everything. And net zero is another great example. We've just seen the TPT, the Transition Plan Task Force, launch a disclosure framework today around sustainability. That is going to drive another level of transparency. So I don't see anything changing in the industry over the next few years. I think that the need to just be completely flexible, completely agile, be at one with your client, be entirely transparent with everything, to the minutiae detail. That's certainly how we do things.
Yeah,
I'm sure others might be different, but I don't see that changing at all.
Thanks, Chris. Can you share an instance where new thinking significantly impacted a project or decision?
Yeah, you're good at putting me on a spot. That's a good question.
That's my job. That's
question 3. The one example I can think of recently, and we're seeing more and more of this, and I welcome this to the industry, to all consultants out there listening, and to any prospective clients or anyone that's in procurement. I recently attended a collaborative workshop with a prospect where, before the tender, they wanted to understand and share with us their plan for their new development. And the reason that's so amazing is that it's collaborative. It's before a process starts, so it's closed, but it's equally happening with other providers. So it's definitely a level playing field. What it allows you to do is to think differently. It allows you to, I think, represent yourself and show the way you really think as a business. So, for example, we spent 2 hours sitting back in the chair and scratching our heads and saying, actually, let's think about that differently. You've said you want to achieve this. You're thinking this is the answer, but actually, how about we think a bit differently? And the impact on the project is that the tender will be more fit for purpose for everyone tendering than what it would have been had they not had that collaborative workshop. So I love sessions like that, because it just allows you to have some fresh thinking and debate it with the clients.
Yeah, that really brings us on nicely to the next question, which is all around collaboration and knowledge sharing. Um, I mean, you've just shared one story there, but what platforms or methods do you use for knowledge sharing?
With our teams, or yeah.
Yeah, with your teams, with your clients, because you have to foster those relationships on well, they're both different, but
Yeah.
what do you use for that?
So I'll try and answer this without giving away the secret sauce. Shall I? Is that what I need to do? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You don't. I don't want you to be in breach of any
Yeah.
non-disclosure or confidentiality. So,
Look, those that know Compass Group will know we're a large organisation. You know, we are the largest in the world, and that is a positive. But sometimes that can be seen as quite daunting. So we're split into six sectors, all of which cover different industries. So when I first arrived back into the UK after living in Ireland for a few years, one of the things I found were our internal platforms were quite siloed across each of the six sectors, whether it be healthcare through to business and industry. And as a result, we were failing to share best practice even in our own business, let alone with our own clients and prospects. And so what we've developed since then is a platform whereby we're able to cross pollinate or share across sector. So if we do something amazing in healthcare, actually very quickly it then is communicated to other sectors. And what that's allowed us to do is to support clients with great stuff from business and industry that will actually might help them in healthcare.
hmm.
Um, and I think more so now, in terms of going back to that transparency point you make, these platforms are now shared with our clients, you know, as a walkthrough to say, listen, we may come to you with a proposed solution, but actually let us show you everything and let's collaboratively work through how they might work. So we found that's really helped. You know,
Yeah,
we've had I mean, last few years have been record growth for us and record retention. We've seen more innovation and more tech introduced in more of our contracts, and that's just because of this one platform that's just kind of knitting everything together. So
mm.
it's been pretty successful, I think. The whole
From,
community are using it.
thank you, Chris. I mean, from experience as well, when you're, especially when you have teams, and I'm talking from experience here, where you have teams and you're with the client, you're dedicated, you're on the client site, you're doing the service, and then you have your main company that you're employed with. It's very easy to become disconnected from your main employer. So I think you've got it right there, where it's not just about sharing between the divisions, but it's also around teams that are dedicated on accounts, especially when it's large corporate clients. It's really important for that knowledge to be shared as well.
There's always a balance, isn't it? I mean, I remember working in ops and someone asking me, "Do you feel like you're more employed by your current client
Yeah,
name versus Compass?" And it was always I don't think we ever got the answer to the question as to should you feel more employed by your client's company and therefore embedded into their culture or Compass Group. I think the answer is it should be the client, but you should absolutely know every channel to go to within where you're actually employed
yeah,
to find the answers for your clients. So yeah, we're very mindful of that. But you know, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. It's just making sure
no,
they've got a reach into the business.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, completely agree with that. So let's move on to one of your topics that you're very passionate about, sustainability. How do you define sustainability in your profession, and why is it important?
I, that's another good question, Maxine.
Full of good questions.
Feels like an exam. The look, I think the easy way to summarize it is, you know, sustainability to us is just what involves doing the right thing for the business and for the planet. You know, specifically to sustainability. You know, it's just a simple, rational question, which is this the right thing to do for the planet?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I mean, the level of importance that we place on it, you know, crudely, it is a number one objective for us. We've got a target of net zero by 2030. Our CO2 emissions last year were 1.1 million. Before that, the year before 1.2 million. So we've got a journey to go on.
Yeah.
But last year we had a 6.5% reduction to CO2 emissions across scope 1, 2, and 3. So I think the message less about what we do. I think that's by the by. I think the bigger industry discussion is around the announcement today, which I think the remnants will come out tomorrow, is around the TPT. So the TPT is the Transition Planned Task Force, and there was a live feed this morning at 8:40 from the London Stock Exchange. Effectively, what it is a task force with a sole purpose of helping private organisations navigate through the complexities of getting to net zero. And what the task force have also done is they've announced or developed a disclosure framework, where all private companies will report back on their progress. So if you think about, let's go back 12 months ago, how many organisations were saying we'll be net zero by 2050, we'll be net zero by 2045?
Yeah.
And I've had to track back on that commitment because it went from being a bit of a fad. Then let's just think of a bold goal. And then actually 12 months later, I'm not sure we can get there, and they track back. Whereas this TPT now means that you have to publish actual metrics to support the reduction in your CO2 emissions. So sustainability was critical before TPT for us, but actually it should be even more important for any organisation, not just limited to Compass Group, because we are going to have to start reporting on it. And so what does that mean for our clients? Well, of course, our clients are now going to be coming to us or any other caterer to say, show me your tangible metrics on how you're reducing CO2 emissions, because they too have to report back up to the task force. So I could talk for days upon end about this, you can probably tell, but we have, I mean, what I'm proud about is we've got an incredible team, far more intelligent and smart than I am around net zero, that just know what they're doing. And I think that's the really warming part of my role, is that I get to sit around some incredible talented people that know how to get to net zero. Well, 72% of it at least, anyway.
Cool.
28% we don't know. Sorry, go on, carry on, Maxine.
I was going to say that if there's any of the audience that are watching on YouTube, you can actually post, if you've got questions for Chris, you can actually post them in there, and we'll pick those up. And just apologise for the LinkedIn stream, we'll repost the recording on LinkedIn afterwards. So, Chris, lessons from setbacks. Can you share a time when things didn't go as planned? How did you handle the setback, and what did you learn from the experience?
Well, I've had two setbacks, but I'm going. One is a real serious story, at least for me. One is probably a lesson on detail. The first funny one is when I worked for Marks and Spencer's as a national supply chain manager, which consisted of ordering product via the head office system. So I was an implant within their head office, and you can imagine I'm ordering a lot of food for our estate on a regular basis. And for some unbeknown reason, which actually was because I didn't check the detail, I ordered 600 cases, of which there's 24 pots of soup in each case. I ordered 600 cases of soup to go to one of the quietest M&S Simply Foods up north in Scotland. So you can imagine the cost implication. Luckily, the supplier of the soup got it sent through to them and made a phone call to say, are you sure you need this soup? But it was a very, very good lesson in checking detail, for considering I was representing quite a prestigious brand who happened to be a client. And so that was a very quick lesson on almost like sending emails. When you want to send a quick email, it's almost like just hold off, and then sleep on it. I guess the most serious one for me was actually happened when I was probably about 18, and I was at McDonald's, and I figured at that age, I ruled the world, and I was too good for McDonald's. And in a heated exchange with my manager, I left McDonald's. And I went to work in an agency, and they pitched me in a manufacturing site for the day, where I was head to toe in blue overalls, and for 12 hours I had to just carry one 25-kilo bag of flour from one place to another, cut it open, and then pull it in the processor. And I've never had a day genuinely where I just regretted being an absolute idiot. And it made me realize that sometimes you've got to be grateful, and sometimes you've got to be humble, and sometimes you've got to apply yourself. And so immediately after that day, I went back to McDonald's. I apologized to the manager. I said, listen, I will give you 110%. I'm going to apply myself. And it was soon after that where I went on to the management program after proving myself. I think the lesson for me, and it always has been, is just application.
Yeah.
You know, it's humility, it's humbleness. You know, you are replaceable, and you know you've got to give your all to your team, otherwise you let them down. So it was very early on, but I think at that age, when you're a bit of a sponge, you kind of learn some harsh lessons.
Yeah, that's true. And well, thank goodness that you listened. Otherwise, they'd have never taken you back.
I'm sure I've made many more mistakes since then. If my team would certainly give you a few good anecdotes, I'm sure, but that's the kind of two that stick with me.
Yeah, thank you. So, embracing diversity. Let's talk about diversity. Collaboration often involves diverse perspectives. Can you talk about a time when different viewpoints led to an innovation or a solution that wouldn't have been possible otherwise?
Well, look, the last 3 years, there has been so many diverse bits of innovation that's hit the market, not limited to Compass Group. I think diversity has won the day for the last few years, which is just fantastic. I don't think it will have a regular day without a debate, you know, with the team about, you know, whether it be innovation or anything else. I'm a kind of person that enjoys diverse views. You know, I welcome it within the community. I think that's what drives improvement and continuous improvement. So I think one of the biggest things is just around things like dark kitchens, CPUs, you know, tech-enabled kind of applications around pre-order, pre-collect. You know, I think now it's quite dated, but in the time of COVID or 2 years ago, I mean, every company was having some really meaty debates around, shall we do it? Shall we not do it? Should we hold out? And so we're seeing the industry grow massively in the last few years. I think I don't think it's been in greater shape than what it is now. I think there's a bit more we could do, but yeah, I think diversity's ruled the day for the last couple of years, for sure. Yeah.
I think as well, what's really important is that as an audience as well, we don't forget what we learnt and how we pivoted and adapted during COVID. And now, yes, you can go back into an office. Yes, there's now facilities in offices, but then there's some really good things that came out of COVID in terms of teams and ways of working. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. But you know, there's still, like, real living wage is still an absolute must for our industry. You know, I'm uberly passionate about that. It's something that, you know, the Living Wage Foundation is just an incredible foundation that we should all be jumping onto. You know, the one thing that's slightly not disappointed me, but I still think there's more we can do for our people in the industry. Is just fly the flag for better pay. You know, there is a foundation there that's well used. There is a really good case for our clients to take it on board with, you know, reduced sickness, better training, better longevity, better retention, better attraction. You know, I really want more clients taking it. I think we're about 55% as an organisation, and we've got some sectors at 100%. So it is a growing trend. We can see it happening, but consultants, I think, have got to play a massive part in that. I mean, not just that. You know, we've had this debate before. I know consultants have the most advantageous place in the market right now, where they can lead these discussions without bias, with pure impartiality, and within their tenders drive the right framework to give better conditions for our teams, for our people. So it's something I've been quite vocal about, with consultants anyway, not limited to just that. And I do see pockets of that coming out since those conversations. I think a few more still need to come forward, but
yeah,
it's a real positive time.
We'll get them on.
We'll get them on.
We'll get them here. So, can you give the audience 3 top tips for success working with your clients and caterers and consultants, Chris?
I mean, I can't tell you if it's successful. I can only tell you the way I tend to be, which is just open, transparent, and honest. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I like to just have some really good debate and open discussion. I find, with clients and consultants, just having a debate and testing the thinking, is quite often well received. As last week when I went to a meeting with a collaborative workshop, I think it's those moments where you see actually what your business is about personally. If you want to test culture, don't do it in a tender process. It's difficult because you go through the motions of a tender response, a site visit, your presentation. What you want to do is, I find I enjoy most, is competitive dialogue, where you go and meet the client and you have these difficult discussions, right? You test the thinking. And equally, I think, my experience of the last 15 years probably of doing this role or type of role is that you really understand if a client and the partnership's going to work, because on both sides, you see how they respond, how we respond to challenge. So yeah, look, success for me is just be yourself, think differently, and be transparent. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's some good recipes there that we can take away and the audience can actually adapt. If there's one piece of advice that you'd give to someone starting in the industry, what would it be?
I think it comes back down to just be yourself. I wish, I've said this before on previous podcasts, I wish I didn't have such a mask when I came into this industry, where I probably wasn't myself. I felt absolutely kind of obsessed with just making it to the next level. And actually, I think I missed out on building some really important relationships and learnings along the way, because I was just maybe not being myself. My fortunate position of being here, and if you looked at my journey, was accelerated when I realized you just need to be you.
Yeah.
And that was from about the age of 30. It came probably 10 or so years too late for me. But I think if you've got the right values, you've got the right intention, and that you're a people person, you work hard and you mean well, I just don't see you being able to fail. It's not about countless qualifications and CV that dances off the page. I think it's just about some really core principles and values. In our industry, that's all you need, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, you see it yourself, Maxine. You don't need a degree in rocket science. You just need a bit about you. You just need a bit of grit.
Yeah. What kind of legacy would you love to leave in the industry?
I'd like to just leave a legacy where I constantly challenge the thinking of the norm. When I depart from the industry, if people mention my name, I hope they'll be able to say something along the lines of, he was bloody vocal, weren't he? He was a bit of a pain in the arse, but actually he pushed the boundaries of our thinking. I think that would be pretty cool. That's externally. I think in my business, in Compass Group, just that I gave people opportunity. That'd be, that I'm pretty. I got a lot of opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
And so I try and give that back to the team. So I'd love it if, within the business at least, people would say, he gave people opportunity based on attitude as opposed to anything else.
Yeah. I remember meeting the lady from your academy, actually, because it's so important, isn't it, as well, to ensure that there's youngsters coming through the ranks. What's your views on the academy, and how can people, if they're interested, get in touch and learn, especially if they're young listeners?
Yeah, so we've got we called it the Next Generation Academy for Growth Community Members, which was developed. It was developed 10 or so more years ago, actually. I was the first person to go on that academy. I was a bit of a guinea pig for Compass, and it did okay for me. So it kind of went through a few ebbs and flows of focus based on company strategy. In the last 3 years, we've reinvigorated it. Brand new material, brand new program. It's about a year. So you come in, you spend a year in an academy, you get trained up in every element of growth or business development, and then you safely released into the community to work on problem solving for clients. Age doesn't matter. So I mean, that's the start point. It's not an age specific line item. It's just have you got an obsession and passion to solve problems and work with people? Yes. Okay, come on in.
Yeah.
Anyone looking to, join Compass. Once you're in Compass, this is going to go into sales pitch, but I don't think once you're in, you ever need to leave. There's so many jobs available to the organisation, and therefore, if anyone's looking to come into Compass, then LinkedIn me, via the usual. They say like slide into my DMs nowadays. I think that's the link. So yeah, slide into my DMs, and then I'll do my best to help. But yeah, I've been given so many amazing opportunities by people primarily, but supported by Compass Group, that it's just in my hard wiring that if there's an opportunity to provide, I'll make sure I find it to people. And again, I hope and would trust my team would testify to that sentiment.
Yeah.
I'd like to think so anyway. I don't know if there's anyone. There might be some of the team on. They might say he's talking absolute rubbish.
Well, we haven't had any comments come through, so what I will do is just post it out afterwards, and we'll see. They'll talk to us about that, no doubt, I'm sure. Okay, so to wrap up, Chris, just a little rapid fire round. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird all day.
Well, you messaged me quite early this morning, actually. That was before 7 a.m, I think.
Yep.
One word that best describes your work ethic?
Relentless.
Okay, and if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would you choose?
Oh, that is a brilliant question.
Do you have an answer?
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Oh, that's a good one. Would he be classed as historical, though?
Let's just go with it for the time being.
Okay.
He's historical to my generation. Yeah, we'll go with
it. Oh, Chris, do you know, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Consultants Corner as well. I remember when we first spoke about the show. But, thanks to the audience for listening. And as it's live, thank you for bearing with us with our little technical glitches. But this has been Consultants Corner, where we're creating better understanding and insight and changing the industry narrative. Until next time, see you soon. Thanks, Chris.
Maxine, see ya.